Bonjour, bienvenue à cette conférence de presse. Conference. My name is Yon Saint-Pierre, and I'll be your moderator. So we are joined today by a group of Canadian MPs and MPs from Ukraine. So we will start with, while the Ukrainian MPs will make comments, remarks of about 2 minutes, and then we have 30 minutes for question. So from left to right, we have Lesia Zaburanna, Yevheniya Kravchuk, Anastasia Radina, Ivanna Klympush-Tsintsadze. Okay. Well, maybe you can just introduce yourself when you start making your remarks. So we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Hello to everyone. My name is Lesia Zaburanna, and I am a member of Ukrainian Parliament. We are here together, our delegation of 5 members of Ukrainian Parliament. We are cross-party delegation, and first of all, we would like to say thank you very much for your time, for your support, and for your attention to our country. We highly appreciate the support, attention, and concern of all Canadian people, Canadian government, and now we are here to discuss our main issues, to discuss current situation in Ukraine, and to look for more support in such difficult times for our country. You know that now we have a war in our country, and we would like to highlight that it's not a war between Ukraine and Russia. It's a war between evil and democratic world. We are fighting for our people, for our land, for our nation, and we are fighting for democratic values, first of all. So we are looking for the support of all democratic countries in this struggle. We know and we highly appreciate Canadian support during all the period of our independence, during the last 30 years. Frankly speaking, Canada is one of the best friends of our country. We highly appreciate concern, attention, and support now from all Canadian people. But we ask you for more support and attention for our country. We need more support in 3 main spheres. First of all, it's military assistance. Now you know that we have really terrible situation in a lot of our regions. A lot of our cities were occupied, and we need military aid, more weapons, and we need it now, not tomorrow, but just now. The second one, what we would like to discuss is sanctions. You know that Canada is also very brave in this question, and really we highly appreciate that you have implemented a lot of sanctions, but we need more sanctions, more strong sanctions, and increase the number of sanctions. And the next one, we are looking also for financial assistance. Now, because of the war, we have financial losses about $550 million. A lot of our cities, villages were absolutely destroyed. And now the state budget deficit about $7 million per month. So we are looking not only for support of International Monetary Fund, but it's very important, but we are looking for direct financing to our state budget. And once more time, thank you very much for everything what are you doing for us, but now we really look for more support and more help. Thank you.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Anastasia Radina. As we discuss support for Ukraine, the question we are getting most is how do we assess current negotiations with Russia and whether we think that these negotiations are actually bringing us to peace. Now, we understand that people might be tired of war and hoping that negotiations will bring peace. Unfortunately, we know for sure that Russia cannot be trusted. These are not real negotiations yet. The only way to get real negotiations with Russia is to achieve military superiority on the ground. We were forced to make compromises with Russia for many, many, many years. In 2014, when Russia bited off Crimea and imposed puppet regimes on in Donetsk and Lugansk regions, we were also told not to escalate and to make compromises. But this did not bring peace to Ukraine. We learned with our blood and tears that compromises with Russia only lead to Russia mobilizing more money, mobilizing more military strength, and hitting us even harder and inflicting more pain and more undescribable sufferings to our people. So now our approach is that Ukraine has to win the war, has to kick Russian soldiers out of our land, and this is our only option to receive peace. In order to do that, what Ukraine needs is lethal weaponry, heavy weaponry. And this is what we are asking for from the democratic world. Ukraine needs military assistance. Ukraine needs heavy weaponry in order not just to stop Russian troops from advancing, but in order to be able to kick them out and help people in besieged cities like Mariupol, Melitopol, and other cities. We are kindly asking Canadian government to follow up on the list of military needs that has been provided by our Ministry of Defense. I may say that this list includes heavy weaponry like tanks, includes anti-air systems, but not only, the list is quite comprehensive, and we do hope that Canadian government will stand with Ukraine, not just in words, but also in action. And when we say action, what we mean is actions are urgent. We cannot allow ourselves to live in pre-world bureaucratic decision-making. Provision of lethal weaponry to Ukraine is a matter of days. What we hope to see and hear is very precise timeline, and we cannot emphasize enough that providing lethal weaponry in any kind of a delay would also mean a failure, unfortunately. We are now hoping that all the democratic world will stand together with Ukraine in a very timely and urgent manner in action to prove that things like international order, that things like rule of law, that things like international humanitarian law exist and will be protected in action. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Ivanna Klympush-Tsintsadze. I'm also Ukrainian MP, chair of the Committee of Ukraine's integration into the EU. Thank you very much for letting the voice of the Ukrainian people being heard loud and clear. And that's with your help we are reaching out to all the societies across the world. We are grateful for that opportunity and this attention to the most brutal, barbaric war that is being carried out by Russian Federation on our territory since World War II has to be sustained. We are under fire. Ukraine is on fire, and Russia is trying to erase us from the map of the world by bombarding, shelling, pounding on our cities. Russia is killing our citizens indiscriminately. Russia is driving people from their homes. So already millions are displaced and refugees. But on the top of all of this, Russia doesn't want to stop. Whatever Russian narratives are on those negotiations or so-called peace talks, we have to understand Russia will not stop if it's not stopped. And this is possible to do. Ukrainians do have courage. Ukrainians do have the resolve, do have capable armed forces, but without backing of the free world, we cannot stop Russia barehandedly. So on the top of weapons that we urgently need, and need them for today, for yesterday actually, we also need pressure on Russian Federation to be further extended. And we appreciate Canadian stance on the sanctions. We appreciate the readiness and leadership of Canada to roll out additional sanctions on Russian Federation, but we need to get others on board. The thing is that embargo on oil and gas has to be introduced comprehensively. And that means that we have to stop European Union from buying Russian fossil fuels, because as of 24th of February, more than 23 billion euros have been paid to Russian Federation, thus sponsoring Russian terrorist activity against Ukraine. We are also calling on all banking system of the Russian Federation to be under sanctions. We are calling on isolating Russia internationally in IFIs, in cultural, in sport organizations. We are calling on not only Russian vessels being prohibited from your ports, but also Canadian vessels not to go into Russian ports. So much more can be done in coordination and in cooperation with others, and Canada has a real serious role to play. So we either can win together or will fail together. So for the sake of democracy, for the sake of values, for the sake of the survival of the Ukrainian nation and nation state and the global order, we have to be together and have to win this battle together. And we believe that offense is the best defense right now for us.
My name is Yevheniya Kravchuk. I'm a member of Ukrainian Parliament and Deputy Chair of Committee on Humanitarian Information and Policy. I'm a journalist myself, and I thank you for doing this job, because the more words you spread to all of the world, the more chances we will have to win, because the focus on Ukraine has to be kept, because we're still in war. And the very good reminder of this war was yesterday's in Prime Minister Trudeau's office, because on my phone the air siren went on. And that meant that in the neighborhood where my 8-year-old daughter resides, there was an attempt of air attack, and my daughter had to go to basement instead of go to school. We have this, a lot of stories to tell. My husband is near Kiev. He's a police officer. He's fighting as well. And he told me about so-called withdrawal. We do not believe in any withdrawals. We do not believe Putin. We believe in Ukrainian army. These days, Ukrainian army has been liberating numerous villages in Kyiv region and as well in the south, in Kherson region. But I want to get this message really straight. We cannot do this with rifles. We have to have heavy weaponry to kick Russians from our territory. Because if we talk about the end of this war, we mean winning in this war. Because other than that, Putin will not stop. He will think that he can go to other countries and humiliate the Western world. So all the Western world has to be firm and has to be fast in giving us support if we all want to keep peace, democracy, the democratic values, the rule of law, the freedom of speech, and whatever values we do believe in together. I would like to give you some highlights on the humanitarian situation in Ukraine. Already around quarter of Ukrainian population was displaced. Either it's 9 million people who are internally displaced people. They left their regions because these regions are bombed. Or over 4 million, around 4 million people of refugees who left the country, mainly women and kids. We have to say that the situation in such cities as Mariupol is devastating. It's becoming a mass graveyard, and we need to deblock Mariupol as fast as possible. Russians do not let the humanitarian help, aid with food, with water to enter the city. And still in Mariupol stays over 100,000 of people blocked there in basements. All the buildings are ruined, no water, water, no electricity, and we urgently need weapons to deblock Mariupol as well. Also, we fixated around 4,000 of cases of war crimes. There hasn't been a war crime that Russian army hasn't committed in Ukraine. I gave to honorable members of House of Commons a file about killings of children. Already we have from our Office of Attorney General information about 148 deaths, killings of children. But the number will go up in times because we do not even know what's going on in Mariupol, how many children and how many people, civilians, had died. But it looks like it's more than 5,000 already just in Mariupol. But when we get there, the world, I think, will be shocked with the results. Also, we have 40,000 of Ukrainians that were forcibly taken to Russian Federation, to Russian territory, and partly to Belarus. That's kidnapping. That's kidnapping. And we do want to underline that what International Red Cross plans are to establish in Rostov an office. It's actually inviting Russians to kidnap our people and to bring them to Russia, which is unacceptable, and we can't have this. And to end this, I want to say that we have to be ready for a long run. We have to be ready that civilized world has to stand with Ukraine as long as it needs for us to win, but the time is crucial for us. To be slow means to fail. So we ask for this support to be in time, to be fast, and we will win. We are capable of winning. Thank you so much.
Dear friends, my name is Maria Ionova. I'm a member of the Parliament Foreign Affairs Committee, and I really also would like to thank all of you for all Canadian nation people, also government, senators, parliaments who are supporting us today, also parliamentarians. And we need your synergy. We need your synergy, to change and to use this moment to win. To win aggressor, to punish terror, to punish war criminal. And as my colleague was saying, really, all these crimes are horrible. We didn't expect it, and it's the worst situation after World War II. And Russians, they are acting worse than Nazi, because they are killing our children, newborn children, they're raping our women, they're destroying and damaging our hospitals, mental hospitals, our institution, educational centers, critical infrastructure. They're kidnapping, they're taking as a hostages our elected democratically local representatives, journalists, priests, civil society activists, paramedic. So they are stolen our citizens and by force really deportation to Russia Federation. So that is why Putin has to be punished, and we also appreciate and thank Canada to join international tribunal. We have to put Putin to be punished and by criminal investigation. Also, regarding humanitarian situation, we really know Canada leadership in humanitarian issues, and unfortunately, international humanitarian organizations are not on the ground, and it's already 37 days of our war, and we need you to help us to mobilize humanitarian agencies. And that is why here we need your humanitarian leadership. I'd like to say that nuclear weapon, it's also a challenge for the whole world, not only for Ukraine. As you know, he is blackmailing and he is controlling and attacking our nuclear power plants. And that is why we are asking also here to international society, and especially Canada as a leader in G7, to have a strategy how to answer on these challenges. We don't want next Aleppo. We don't want. We remember that Russia poisoning people, interfering elections. We remember what they are doing in Belarus, in Kazakhstan, in Syria. So they are people of war. We are people of peace, and that is why we really share democratic values. And only all together we can defend them. Because yes, or we win all together, or we fail altogether. And that is why, coming back to what my colleagues mentioned, freedom has to be armed. And we are asking you and asking Canadian government, Canadian people, nation, weapon, sanctions, and financial support. Together we win, and we are asking you to be with us. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now take questions. We have about 30 minutes. We have also one person on the line. So we will start with Abigail Biman.
Hi, Abigail Beeman, Global News. Thank you for your time and thanks for taking our questions. For whoever wants to answer, I'm wondering what the response was from the Prime Minister yesterday and whether you feel that what you're asking for, that Canada will deliver.
First of all, let me be very clear. We understand and feel the support of Canadian people. Canada was the first country to introduce oil embargo against Russia, and this was a game changer. And after that, other countries followed Canadian leadership. We are grateful for that. However, we urge Canadian people and Canadian government to act faster and to provide more support in terms of legal weaponry. Lethal weaponry. We are very much afraid that taking decisions and taking discussions and mobilizing support will take too much time. Now, not being able to act in a timely manner will mean failure, not just for Ukraine, but for all the democratic world. This would mean that democratic world is not able to send a message that democratic values will be protected. So what we are urging for is to provide support in a timely manner, to provide Ukraine with lethal weapons we're asking for in a timely manner. Time matters. Please follow that.
As far as we got the message from Prime Minister Trudeau, we were reassured that Canada is with Ukraine for whatever it takes for us to win. So we hope that this message will translate into more and more concrete actions with urgency that is required on the ground when the country is on fire.
Sorry, just making sure nobody else wanted to jump in. To follow up to what you're saying, then, you weren't offered any concrete promises yesterday?
No, that's not what we were trying to say. We know that Canada, and we appreciate this, that Canada is working on a special financial instrument that is critically important for Ukraine right now, with getting additional financing for our economy that is being ruined by the Russian Federation, by destruction, by interruption of all the economic ties, by economic processes in the country, by moving people out of their places, by killing people and destroying our homes and destroying factories, destroying reserves and so on. So we know and we see that Canada is leading this effort of beating up additional financial support for Ukraine. We appreciate this highly. But we were asking also and Canada was among those countries who have been training our soldiers and officers before the war has started, and we appreciate that. We were asking for more of that type of support and for more weaponry, even where Canada cannot get the weapons on the ground for Ukrainians. We were asking for them to find the instruments, how to help us buy those weapons across the world. So we hope that we have been heard, And also with regard to sanctions, as we said, and humanitarian effort, we believe that Canada, with its history of being humanitarian leader, can do more in getting alliances across the world globally to ensure that such democracies as Brazil, such democracies as India or South Africa are finally not taking neutral stance and are not pretending that this kind of are equal parts, but take the side of light, take the side of democracy, of values against side of evil. And I think that there is a role for Canada to play here.
And I would like to add a little bit about financing support. Yesterday we met with Premier Minister Trudeau and Minister of Finance Chrystia Freeland, and we also discussed the role of Canada in our financing assistance. And if we talk about more concrete details, now Canada has a process of adoption state budget. And we know exactly that Canada will increase financial assistance to Ukraine, and we highly appreciate for this. And it also about military assistance, financing military assistance for us. So we are looking for more support, but we highly appreciate also these activities. And we discuss with Premier Minister Trudeau and Minister of Finance Chrystia Freeland new instruments in this sphere, and we hope that Canada will be a leader in this area and will also unify other countries. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Kevin Gallagher with CTV National News. I actually like to ask some clarity there. So your conversation with Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, were you saying that there are some things, like Canada has a budget, a federal budget next week? Is that what you were talking about, that there are potentially some promises that were made for the Canadian budget to help Ukraine purchase weapons and also have other financial supports? Or is it, I just want to clarify, sorry.
We were asking about this, and the Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland, told us that, of course, in state budget of Canada, they will increase our financial support for the next year.
Sorry, if there's someone else that would like to step in.
Okay, no, we maybe
just to clarify.
Yeah,
sure.
I'll try to clarify. I believe that we were heard that this request is coming from us to increase this, but we do not know whether that will translate into concrete financial numbers. But what we know and what is Canada is already doing for sure, that's through IMF, organizing a special instrument, financial instrument, and taking the lead, and already ready to contribute their financial resources and get additional support from others to ensure that Ukraine gets additional financial support. That was clearly promised.
If I may add, we were assured that Canadian government and Canadian people are standing with Ukraine in providing Ukraine everything needed and everything possible to ensure we are successful and to ensure that Ukraine wins the battle that we are now fighting, not just on behalf of Ukraine, but on behalf of a all-free world. We frequently hear that NATO will protect every inch of NATO territory. Now Ukraine is protecting every inch of NATO territory, is protecting democracy against chaos, is protecting international humanitarian law against war-crazy dictator, and we were assured that there is a strong understanding and support for that from Canadian government. What we urge is to, what we ask for is to prove that this support comes in a form that helps us win, and this form right now is increased funding and provision of lethal weaponry. We believe our message was heard, and we are waiting for a precise timeline and precise steps in that direction from Canadian government.
I just want to ask a follow-up question on the lethal weaponry. And as far as that request from Ukraine, Canada, of course, has given some lethal arms to Ukraine, but I'm wondering if they're the right type. For example, the anti-tank weapons that Canada was able to give to Ukraine were older Carl Gustaf, anti-tank weapons. But we've heard from reports, of course, that on the battlefield, Ukrainian soldiers are making very effective use of Javelin anti-tank weapons and Stinger missiles that Canada, unfortunately, is unable to give because we simply don't have them in our arsenal. Were there any specific requests? I heard something in there that there may be a way that Canada could help Ukraine purchase weapons it needs, but is there a point here where sort of the list that Ukraine's asking for are specific things, and of those things, how much does Canada truly have to give right away, since time does seem to be of the essence?
Thank you so much for your question. I will be very accurate in my answer for security reasons. Now, we are receiving some of the support, and this support has been incredibly helpful for Ukrainian armed forces to be able to stop advancement of Russian forces deeper into our territory. For that, we are unbelievably thankful. There is a list of military requests from the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. It has been provided to Canadian counterparts, and it also includes and emphasizes the need in weapons that not only will help us stop Russian troops from advancing, but that will help us actually receive military superiority on the ground and in the air. And these needs are now crucial. We need heavier weaponry than the ones we were receiving this far. This is not to say that we do not need the weaponry we are receiving. We need that, but we need new and heavier kinds of weapons in order to be able to free our lands from Russian soldiers. In order to help, once again, people in Mariupol, we need something that we need things that we haven't been receiving in due quality and quantity this far.
Sorry, may I add? About long perspective, and also you mentioned about our armed forces. Our armed forces are very professional because they are in war for 8 years old, at 8 years. And we were also discussing with our colleagues Lend-Lease program, because if we are thinking about long-term period of time, we need this modern weapon, also our armed forces. And that is why, Putin madness, we have to stop him and to be prepared to defend ourselves for a long period of time, because Russia is our neighbor. That is why we are asking Western partners to adopt such Lend-Lease Act as it was in 1941. National governments to supply really Ukraine with the necessary materials, like from nutrition to ammunition. We name it like this. So that is why we would like, when we are talking about now, like no-fly zone, we understand Article 5 and so on, but we need to have our no-fly zone. And that is why we are asking to defend our air, that we can defend our air by ourselves if we will have the delivery of jets. Thank you.
A really quick add on this. What our clear message was that we need the supplies of weapons bigger than that we burn out every day, to be a step ahead of Putin, because Russia is sort of waiting for us to run out of weapons, and they do have a lot, and they are around the world buying stuff, trying, to be first there. And we do know that there are countries in Europe, for example, and defense, they do have this list. They understand what it's going, where you can get stuff. It is possible also to buy in European countries, still to buy the weapons we need. So that was the message, and we hope that the message was heard, and we will see some results in future, days, weeks. But we do not have a lot of time. We need it as fast as possible. Thank you.
Hi, Tom Perry with CBC. I believe, MP Radina, you said, I'm not sure if you said anti-tank or tanks that Ukraine was looking for. Canada does have tanks. It has howitzers as well. Are you asking the Canadian government to turn over things like tanks, heavy artillery to the Ukrainian military for them to use against Russia?
I can say that this is one of the requests we were discussing.
You've specifically asked then for Canadian tanks, Canadian howitzers to be turned over to the Ukrainian military?
This is one of the issues that we discussed, and what we heard is that Canadian government is looking into all the possibilities to ensure Ukraine needs everything necessary to success. What we were also urging for is for this deliberations, consultations, and looking on things on the table to be turned quickly into things actually being present on the ground, because discussions on the table do not help on the ground. And the urgency of our request is probably the most vivid in recent world history.
The thing that the Prime Minister was talking about yesterday was urging that Russia be expelled from the G20. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that. Also, when this is over, do you see Russia ever being sort of readmitted into the family of nations? How do you think justice will ever be done when this is all over?
Actually, during our conversation with Prime Minister Trudeau and Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance Freeland, we raised the issue that we believe that Russia has to be isolated, and G20 definitely is one of those groups where Russia does not have right to appear. And we also raised this with Foreign Minister Joly. And we are happy that Prime Minister and the government of Canada feels the same way as Ukrainians here. And we appreciate yesterday's call of Prime Minister Trudeau on expelling Russia from G20. We already hear the response. We still have altogether work on ensuring that Russia does not have a place there. So that's one thing. And we believe that Russia has to be isolated in other international organizations, starting from the seat in Security Council and ending in all the different, again, cultural, sport, international financial organizations. And I also believe that Russian diplomats, who are not real diplomats but are spies and propagandists, have to be expelled from the embassies from across the world, and have to be expelled from bureaucracy in those international organizations where they are making their ways to ensure that international organizations are not taking adequate decisions to respond to this brutal war that Russia is fighting. So here, that's how we feel. We would appreciate all the support on this, because we believe that these people are murderers, are rapers, are looters, are liars, and have nothing to do with civilized world. And with regard to how we hope it will end, we don't care which city the tribunal will take place at. But we believe that Putin, together with a lot of other representatives of Russian authorities, along with the officers and soldiers that are committing war crimes and crimes against humanity on our land, will be held responsible to those atrocities that they've brought on our land. And this is our common call. And here Canada has also played a crucial role by being one of the first countries filing the request to ICC on starting this process against Russian authorities. Thank you.
And also, I would like to add that we really think that world after our victory should sit and rethink the whole this architecture of these international organizations, because we see that they are paralyzed. Why? I mean, the OSCE mandate was blocked to be on the ground in Ukraine, was blocked by one country, Russia, and that's the aggressor, the part of the war, of the conflict. Now look at the Defense Council of United Nations. They can't pass any decisions. Security Council of United Nations. They cannot pass any decisions because Russia would block anything there. So far, the first and only right now, the international organization that Russia was kicked out from is Council of Europe. I'm part of delegation in Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe, and we made it happen. We voted Russia out. really think that if we want to, to keep the security architecture working, we need to rethink how it works. Because right now, United Nations looks like a League of Nations. I'm sorry to say, but that's how the things are on the ground. And about the G20, yes, of course, it's right decision would be to expel Russia from over there, but I guess there is no a written step-by-step procedure how to do that. But actually, the whole point of G20 is to grow the economies of these countries stronger. But apparently, the whole world wants to make a Russian economy weaker right now, because to stop them paying for this war of aggression.
Yes, hi, Lee Berthium, Canadian Press. Thank you for talking to us today. I wanted to go back to the special financial instrument and just, again, want to make sure I understand. Sorry, I just want to make sure. Is the plan for it to be used to buy weapons? Or is it... No, okay. That's what I wanted to make sure. So it's financial. And,
no, it's financial aid to Ukraine, to the budget, to Ukrainian economy. No. The special instrument, IMF, that's about financial support to Ukraine to actually survive as economy.
Okay. So has there been any discussion about Canada providing some type of monetary support to Ukraine for the purchase of weapons in any other form?
We asked for that.
What was the response?
We are looking into your process of budgetary.
Okay, so no promises were made on that. Okay. Just the other question I wanted to ask about was the International Legion. We've had, obviously, President Zelensky has issued a call last month, or I guess in February, for foreigners to come and help Ukraine. We've since seen a lot of Canadians express interest in going, and many have already headed over. But we have our government basically discouraging people from heading to Ukraine, and you have other countries who have actually banned their citizens from going. I'm wondering what you would tell Canadians who are interested in going to Ukraine. Do you still want them? Do you still need them? Or, yeah. Thank you.
Every single freedom fighter who would come to Ukraine, that's a great inspiration, encouragement for all Ukrainian people. We value all those who are standing and ready to stand with us, not only in promises, in prayers, in words, in support, in encouragement, in inspiration being received from Ukrainian nation. So we would be grateful for this, heroic steps, standing together with us, with Ukrainians. We believe we deserve it because we are not standing for only ourselves. So we would encourage everybody who knows how to fight or who knows how to render medical aid, paramedics, other people who can volunteer to come to the ground, to come to soil. It's not the official boot on the ground, but freedom fighters are very much in this International Legion is very much welcome.
Let me return to your question on financing, on funds to purchase weapons. This is one of the requests we made, and we, I hope, delivered the sense of urgency of this request. And we understand that Canadian budget has to be presented by April 7th. We believe that this is the proper time for decision making, and we believe this decision on providing funding for Ukraine can, in terms of bureaucracy, and should, in terms of protecting democratic values and the free world, be made now in the process of preparing the budget before April 7th. And we do hope to see proper reflection on, or proper follow-up to Ukrainian messages in Canadian budget now and not in few months before, because postponing this issue for another few months or another few weeks will be equal to inaction and will send a message to Putin that West is weak, and he is trying to spread this message in his disinformation campaigns that West is weak and that Russia is strong. Now is the time to properly show that West is strong and West is willing to actually act on behalf of all the values it associates itself with.
So this is all the time that we have for questions. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.